and watch me eat.
Yeah. So people can judge you. Bam, we're live. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning.
Caleb, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I was looking at the numbers this morning from all the guests we've had on, and I just wanted to thank you guys in the comments. I was just thinking about how much you guys helped with Dave and Danielle. I mean, you guys help every morning with your comments. It's funny. It adds to the show. But with Dave and Danielle and Rich, you guys have been just off the hook. So thank you. I appreciate it. Don't you think, Caleb?
Definitely. It's been really awesome.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, it's okay.
Good. We are getting close to Wadapalooza. Brian, is your brain getting crowded at all, like with too much information or any overwhelmed or?
It's a lot of athletes, about 40 in the elite divisions and about 40 teams in the elite divisions. So that's 360 athletes. So there's a lot.
Hey, there's so many good athletes that we're kind of destined to neglect people this year, huh? Some people are going to get lost who don't deserve to get lost.
Yeah. With the articles I've been writing for Bar Bend, I'm trying to diversify my picks a little bit. So I've kind of self-imposed a rule. I'm trying not to pick anyone more than twice, so that we can get people can have a little bit of a understanding for some of the other or lesser known athletes that might have a good workout on one of these events, but may not do great overall. I think that's one way we can help.
So you're putting people in to win the events, even though you don't really think they're going to win them, just to introduce them to the people.
Yeah, so I might call it like a pick to click instead of a pick to win. This might be their best workout of the weekend. They may have a top 5 finish. I'm not just going to pick. If there are 6 events, I'm not just going to pick Guy, Vellner, Roman, and Ricky to win every one of them. Like I might pick them one each if I think there's a workout they'll do good on, and then I'll try to pick someone else who may do very well on that workout. Maybe it's a 3rd or 4th.
But you'll be honest. You'll say, "Hey, Guy's not going to win this, but he's going to look the best doing it."
Yep, exactly.
Paige, hi. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to meet you. I'm Sevan, and that's Brian. That's
right. Nice to meet you guys.
Hey, Paige.
I watched. Have you guys met before?
I don't know that we've actually had been in a lot of the same competitions at the same time. So I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. But it's nice to meet you.
I watched 3 or 4 of your podcasts yesterday, so I feel like I know you. Maybe more.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Hey, do you watch if someone invites you onto a podcast, do you watch one of their podcasts before you go on?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, kind of just to get a feel of what I'm signing myself up for.
Do you watch before you say yes?
Typically no.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. I invite people on without sometimes fully vetting them.
Yeah. That's okay.
You ever been on one that you afterwards you're like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done that one?
Probably not.
Oh, good. So. Okay. Well, shoot. I hope I don't screw your perfect record up then.
I don't think you will. There's definitely things that I've said before that I'm not that it was bad, but it was just kind of stupid to say. I remember I did a podcast with Jared
Graybeal.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's how I was gonna say it, but I didn't want to butcher it. But he asked if there was an animal that I'd like to talk to, what it would be. I said a pig, and I got a ton of crap from my friends on that one. So
what did they want you to say? Shut up, that's a stupid question. Next question.
I guess. Well, they were pick something more like a lion where they're aggressive, and I was like, no, I want to talk to a pig. I mean,
I'm not hating.
They have movies on pigs, so I was I feel like it's a fair answer.
Yeah.
It is amazing though. Sometimes I'll do one of these, or I'll do a broadcast or something, and I know that a majority of it was good, but there's one thing that maybe no one else even notices it, and I reflect on it for a month, and I'm like, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, for sure.
Brian, are you from working on this podcast and then working on something that's more polished, like hosting the what was the one in the desert called?
But are you talking about Dubai?
Dubai. Yes. After then the commentating for Dubai, do you ever like feel like, this better not come out of my mouth here? Like, do you think I've corrupted you on this podcast?
No. I think I know how to handle you just at least adequately.
I agree. I think you do handle me adequately. Paige Powers, 25th at the games in 2022. That's your not your Dubai, your debut. It's another D word. Your debut as an individual. Man, you stand out, man. You are a special person when you take the field. You do some really cool stuff. You took third place twice as a teen.
Yes.
In the 14 to 15 and then the 16 to 17. And then were you 16 when you look, Brian's so proud of me. I that was like a proud father, the way he was smiling. When you took that third place in the 16, 17, were you 16 or 17?
I was 16.
And then what happened after that? Then you were kind of off the scene till 2022. Was that like COVID stuff or what happened?
Yeah, the next year I was 17, so it was my last chance to compete as a teen. And it was canceled because of COVID. Okay. And then following year was my first time out like in the open division, and I didn't qualify. And then
you made
this
semifinals.
Past year was my first time.
But you made semifinals in 2021.
Yes.
Those were online.
Yes.
So I was like,
yeah.
Hey, did that hurt? What's the deal? What's the deal with that? So you're this great teen athlete. Well, we'll talk about that here in a second too. Whether you were a great teen athlete or whether the competition was just junk. But and it may not have been. I'm open.
Yeah.
Was that hard in 2021, or was that where you like, hey man, this is already crazy ambitious of me?
No, it was hard. I definitely expected to qualify to the games or at least have like a good shot. And then like coming in 21st on top of that, I was like, wow, okay, like I have a lot more work that I have to do that I didn't like realize that I wasn't, like on the same level. But like going from quarterfinals where I was like that year, I believe I was within like a pretty good spot of qualifying, like if we went based off of that, and then just being like so completely knocked down at semis was pretty tough. But
basically what she's referring to is that she was 23rd in the quarterfinals that year, and that's out of all the women in North America. After the semifinals were split into 4 distinct semifinals, she was 21st in a field of 30. So it was a significant step back in her mind from her quarterfinal performance.
Wow, you put some crazy pressure on yourself, huh? Or you have high expectations. You have high expectations.
Yeah, for sure.
But really, it's like, that's her first year. And if you think about it, because what she's thinking is that 21st is like a 84th if you multiply it by 4 for the 4 semifinals. And so that's like 4 times worse than I did in the quarterfinals. But really, it's an opportunity, I think. So she can look and say, why did I do so well in quarterfinals compared to semifinals? Now I have my focus for the next 12 months.
Yep, for sure.
And by the high expectations, I mean, it's a pretty, it's insane to think that you're going to go from teen and then in 1 year or just 2 years go to individual. But you put that demand on yourself. I mean, don't get me wrong. What were you going to say, Brian? We've seen it.
For the men, it's insane because it hasn't happened. For the women, she can look at other women that have had similar finishes to her. Mallory O'Brien's best finish as a teenager at the CrossFit Games was 3rd. Now, she had the similar situation happen where she missed a year because of COVID that she might have won. But it's been done before. So it's not an unrealistic expectation in the women's field compared to the men's.
But still freak of nature.
Of course.
Mallory O'Brien's didn't come into the CrossFit Games and take 39th place.
No.
Right, yeah. So nuts.
Yeah.
But you're doing all sorts of unrealistic stuff. You're only 2 years or 3 years as an individual, and you're already just completely, if the videos are true that I watch, you're completely entrenched in the Mayhem empire.
Yes.
Getting at it every single day with some of the, I mean, what you've put on yourself is absolutely nuts. The caliber of people that you're rolling with and hanging with.
Yeah. Yeah. I really do enjoy it though. I mean, like whenever I first moved here, it was definitely like I just took ego beating day after day. Like I just got absolutely crushed in training every single day. But it like pushed me to like keep up in ways that I wasn't pushing myself before. So like I've been here for a year now, and like to see my improvement from like last year when I first moved here to now is like pretty crazy. So I'm super grateful for it.
You think you picked up a little swagger in that year? Like you got a little more pep in your step?
Maybe, yeah. I think like I was put around people that like made me like know that it's okay to like show a little confidence here and there. Especially like people like Guy. He loves to perform, and like that's where he's in his element. So kind of just like taking little like tips and like watching him and stuff. So
It was interesting. I watched an interview when you were 16 years old and you seemed supremely confident. Then I watched a couple of interviews of you from a couple of years ago, and not that you weren't confident, but you were more shy. And then I watched a more recent interview with you, the Swolverine one, and you were back to the 16-year-old version of yourself. That one was just like 4 months ago. I was like, oh, wow. She went through like a confident 16-year-old, then kind of a humbling period, right? She got her first, you got your wings. You went from a strong caterpillar to kind of like a new awkward butterfly. And then now it's like you've been flying with the big butterflies for a year. And I was like, wow, she got her swagger back. She got her 16-year-old swagger back.
Yeah, I think it was like a lot easier for me in the teenage division to like have a ton of confidence, because like I made the CrossFit games within the first, like I wasn't even doing CrossFit for a year and I made the CrossFit games. So
do you know this story, Brian? That story's crazy. We're going to go to that. Sorry, go on, Paige.
Okay.
That story's crazy.
But yeah, it was like, I mean, kind of just like having that expectation of like always making the games. And then like whenever I did turn 18, I was like thrown out with the big girls. I was like, there was kind of this part of me that was like, oh, well, I'm just not good enough, especially getting 21st at Granite Games. But I kind of decided to use that as fuel and like moved down to Cookville, and it's been good ever since. So I feel like I've gained that confidence back of like, hey, I do belong in this field.
Gymnastics is your first sport?
Yes. Yep.
And how old?
I did it basically until I could walk to 14 years old.
Okay. So 10 or 12 years of gymnastics. Was your mom a gymnast or your dad a gymnast?
Nope. Neither of them were.
But they just started taking you to like the 18-month-old class like us crazy parents do as soon as you,
Yeah.
Hey, when you do gymnastics that long, don't you get to like the weird stages? Like the part that's like where the eating disorders are and the coaches hit you, and like the practices are 8 hours long, and like it's just the weird parents and weird kids. Like now you're in that kind of like.
Yeah, it did get like a bit like crazy.
Weird shit. Yeah.
Whenever like I was towards the end of my gymnastics career.
Yeah.
Things definitely like I was constantly in the gym. If I wasn't in school, I was doing gymnastics. And it wasn't really, I didn't think it was the healthiest environment for me towards the end. But you know, I'm glad that I'm out of that, and it brought me to CrossFit. So
it's a common theme on this show. The girl who's in her 10th year is like, whoa, shit started getting weird.
Yeah.
But you know something, maybe you're aware of this, maybe not, but in the past year or so, there's been some conversation about if it's appropriate to talk about the bodies of the athletes that are competing. I feel like that also exists in gymnastics.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
And it's it's like your body is your product. Like you need it to do that. And you can certainly tell me I'm wrong, but I would imagine that relative to other girls that were doing gymnastics that eventually you got probably to be bigger than some of them. And so you probably did well on certain things and had a harder time on other implements.
Yeah, for sure. It was really crazy, especially like going throughout your teenage years. If you literally like if you had a growth spurt of like an inch, it would mess up like your whole bar routine or like your beam routine. Like you felt all wonky and weird for a period of time. So it was really crazy in those like final years that I was like doing gymnastics. There was so much change during it, and it definitely created a lot of difficulty for it.
I mean, even think of the dudes. You have to be absolutely the skinniest you can possibly be while still working on the rings. Like, how starved can I make myself and maintain all my
everywhere
strength,
other
right?
than the shoulders? You have to have massive shoulders.
Yeah. But I mean, but I mean, right? That's the thing. It's the nature of that sport. I'm saying nothing negative about it, but you're trying to move the body through these crazy positions and through the air. And it's basically, hey, how skinny can I fucking get, but still be strong as an ox?
Yeah. And
right?
It's also like, it's pretty crazy because it's like such a subjective sport where like other people are really like telling you like, oh, your point or your big toe is crooked, so like I'm taking a 10th off, like, and a lot of the times for like bars, like if you're, I don't know, just like with the different body types, like if you were kind of leaner and taller, like your lines looked prettier, so you get a higher score. Whereas like I was kind of like shorter and stockier, and I maybe didn't look like pretty all the time, so it was like, I don't know. It's kind of it's
Judge
weird.
number 3 isn't attracted to you, so he docked you. I mean, sure. I'm not even talking shit about it. I'm just like, yeah, it's just humans. It's just people.
But this thing she's talking about, where the angle of your big toe or whatever, maybe that's a minutia, but it's just having immaculate control of your body. And in the coaching development that I've done, it's called motor control. I think this is one of the main reasons why gymnasts can translate over to CrossFit so well. How many times have you seen someone in the gym and say, okay, now reach back with your hips? And some people can do it, some people cannot. I think gymnasts in particular are very good at that, because all of the cues from their coaches at some point are, okay, when you're finishing this thing, make sure you do this extension with your elbow, not this, or with your finger or your toe or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's like down to the last detail in gymnastics. So
we're gonna talk about that too, by the way. There's a I remember gymnasts coming in and there being some difficulty in abandoning some of that composure and control for speed, but we'll get to that. And I want to talk about how you had to let maybe some of that go to get times. Are you comfortable talking about any of the weird stuff that happened? Like, was it around food or just around just how many hours you were there? Was there anything in particular that, like, for parents out there, like, hey, be attentive to this. This is too much for a kid. 10 years of this shit. Or, hey, don't be a sissy, push your kid through.
Yeah, I guess it really depends on like the gym that you're at. But like I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with like any of the like NASCAR stuff.
Oh yeah.
I have that Athlete A documentary.
Yeah, that's the crazy doctor that was hurting the girls.
Yes.
Yes,
so
that was nuts.
I lived within like an hour and a half from him. So my coaches always sent me to him whenever I had any injuries. And like, thankfully nothing ever happened to me, but it was like, I don't know, just like that kind of like whole area in there, like the coaches closer to Lansing, wherever he practiced out of, like they, I mean, one of them like was, I think he had like a warrant out for his arrest, and then he ended up killing himself, but because he knew he was in deep trouble. But
that guy killed himself? Nasser killed himself?
No, not Nassar, but one of the coaches that was like highly affiliated with him.
Who was doing the same thing to the girls, molesting the girls.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And so, yeah, I think there was like...
So there were warning signs.
Yeah. Yeah. And like...
Did you know he was a creep when you went to him?
I'd say like in the moment, no. Like he definitely... I feel like now whenever I look at him and see pictures of him in jail, I'm like, yeah, you're a creep. But obviously, like, after knowing what happened, but like...
It's a doctor. You're supposed to trust him.
Right. Exactly. And like, he, like, I don't really want to give him any credit because I absolutely hate what he did, obviously. But he was super smart and like really good at what he did as far as like doctoring goes. So it was like such a shame that he literally wasted all of that talent for no reason to just end up in jail for the rest of his life. But I remember whenever like he first got arrested, my mom like called me. I was like, what the heck? Like it was before school and she was like, hey,
Must
like
have scared the crap out of your parents. Must have scared the crap out of them.
for sure. Yeah. And like they were always in the room with me. Like they never left my side with being
I love hearing
honestly,
this.
yeah, with like any doctor I ever went to. And so the scary thing to me is that like now that the stories are coming out, like girls are saying that he would do stuff even with their parents in the room.
I heard those stories, right? I heard the
Yeah.
girl telling the story. My parents were right there.
Yeah, which is like crazy to me, but
Brazen,
like-
right? This guy's a maniac.
it's very unfortunate, but
And it shows you how easily people can be duped. It's not like the parents were
Mhm.
allowing it. They were just kind of awed by his doctor in his role too, right? Oh, he
Yeah.
must know he's the doctor.
yeah, which is like crazy to me. Like, I mean, I guess like for my parents, they always taught me from a young age. They were like, if you ever feel like uncomfortable by like a stranger or even somebody that you trust, like if they touch you in a weird spot, like immediately tell us because it's not right. But like, I think people are just like so willing to like take that risk in a sport if it's gonna make them better and like just push it to the side. But it's crazy. Weird stuff.
Yeah. So my takeaway from that is you had great parents. Yes, please, kids,
Yes.
talk to your parents. Someone said to me the other day after we had Garrett on here, someone sent me a DM and they said, hey, all parents need to tell their kids you should never have a secret with another adult.
Mm-hmm.
There's no secret that you if any adult ever wants to keep a secret with you, tell your parents right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no one should be having secrets with your kids. So the takeaway for me here is that means you were in an extremely competitive gymnastics program. If you're by Mr. Olympic gross doctor.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was super competitive. Like, yeah, especially in like in and around my area that I was like training in. And it definitely got to be like too much for me. It was like way by my last season, I was dry heaving like over garbage bins before every event, like crying
because of anxiety.
Yeah.
Because you saw Matt Fraser doing.
I was gonna say,
CrossFit.
yeah, you sound like Matt Fraser. What's wrong with that? Don't be a sissy, Paige.
Yeah, it got pretty bad. I was like going to see like a sports psychologist literally just to get me through my last season. And like fortunately throughout my whole career, I never had any major injuries, just like kind of small minor stuff and lots of aches and pains. And then just before my last season, I dislocated my knee, like fractured my femur bone, had a giant bone bruise, and like somehow it healed up within like 3 months. So I was still able to compete that season. And like after my first competition, I kind of knew that like I was done with gymnastics. And I told my parents, and they're like, just like stick it out through the season, and like it's probably not going to be that bad. And like we just don't want you to regret it if you just quit right now. And that season was like, I mean, we were doing all that I could just to like get me through there, but I was like before every event just like dry heaving, like so anxious, so nervous. And even for like practices, I was like starting to get like work myself up to like stomach aches, and like it was pretty crazy.
Hey, what's the feedback you have for parents out there that your parents are put in a tough spot? Because I get where they're coming from. They're like, man, she's put 10 years in. We want to support her to do the right thing. Do you think that they handled that right in hindsight? Like, are you
Yeah.
glad you had that experience of all that anxiety, or do you wish that they would have let you off the hook?
I do.
And by the way, that takes strong parents. They didn't like doing that. I promise you, they
Yes.
hated it. They
No.
hated it.
Yeah, I still have conversations with them today about it. Like, I think for my dad especially, like, he was a competitive swim coach, so he gets the like mentality that you have to be in to be like a super competitive person in anything. And like, I think for him especially, he's like, he just didn't want me to regret like quitting and then maybe later in the season being like, why did I do that? I should have finished out, or even like wanting to go back to the sport. But like, I remember like my mom asking me, and she was like, hey, like, you know, are you gonna have a problem with like people asking you like, well, what are you doing now that you're done with gymnastics? And like, for a period of time there, it was like nothing. I was like, I don't really have anything lined up. I had an idea of a couple of things I wanted to do, but I was like, I was so like done with gymnastics at the point. I was like, I don't even care if I'm like doing nothing right now. I just want to be like out of the sport. But I mean, they were super supportive of it, and like also supportive of trying to find things for me to like fill that time gap, because I mean, like I said earlier, it was literally like school, gymnastics, and then go home, dinner, shower, homework, and sleep. So there's like no wiggle room in my schedule to like a whole bunch of free time. And they're like, we have to get you in something because you're like going crazy. So that's when we started like exploring swimming and diving for high school and CrossFit.
I was just trying to think if there's anything in my life that's ever been like that. Like, you did something that you were so committed to and then decided to quit it. And it's like, most people don't even ever put themselves in that position. I mean, the only thing I could think of is I had a job at CrossFit for 15 years, but I didn't quit. I got fired. And like I was doing it for money. Like, you had a hobby that was so intense that you, at 17, you're like, nah. How old were you when you quit? 16?
I was 14.
14. Okay, 14. Yeah, what a crazy already life experience to have, a psychological journey to have to already throw away 14. Okay, I'm done with that identity.
Yeah.
It's a good lesson though, is how critical the adults surrounded in that environment are for her, you know. And I had this exact same experience with swimming. I was a really good swimmer.
You did?
I was a really good swimmer. It was taking most of my time. I was one of the best in the state. I'd been picked to select our region in a national competition, but my coach was negligent of her responsibilities, and it pissed me off to the point that I ended up quitting as well.
Yeah. That's like, I mean, my coaches were like, whenever I told them I was like, hey, I think I'm going to be done, my coaches were kind of like, well, you know, you can maybe just cut it down to like Tuesday, Thursday, Friday practice. And like, they would like hop on the phone with my parents and they're like, your daughter can literally like go to college for free if she keeps doing gymnastics. And there was just like literally nothing that was going to get me to go back into it. I was just done.
Yeah, good on you. Hey, another thing on there too, which is interesting, is we kind of heard that story from Rich yesterday, and we've heard the story from, which was kind of crazy to hear from Rich. Rich basically went away to college to play baseball, but wasn't happy. Wanted to come back home to his family and his girlfriend. We heard that story from Jason Hopper. Went to Clemson with football, just 18 years old, just wasn't mature enough, just didn't like that feeling of being away, and came back and thank God, Rich did that.
Yeah, right? For sure.
Thank God baseball didn't get him.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy how like everything works out in hindsight.
How do you become, so this is the part that tripped me out. So with that, you're able to parlay. I'd like to hear like that first CrossFit workout you do, to the fact that like when you talk about it, you almost feel like, yeah, of course I'm going to the CrossFit games the first year at 14.
So, like, I would say the first month of doing CrossFit, I actually didn't like it because it reminded me a lot of conditioning and gymnastics, which that was probably my least favorite part of gymnastics. But, like, I remember my first workout was assault bike and rower, and that was the only two things.
Wow.
The class was doing like an all barbell workout, so the coach at the time was like, that's not obviously something that somebody on their first day needs to hop in on. So it was like, for the first month I was kind of just like, like, it's okay, I'll do it because my mom paid for the membership. And
Why did she put you in that? Was she CrossFitting?
no, my friend Michaela, she went to the CrossFit Games twice as a teenager, and she was working out at that gym, and she was doing gymnastics with me before, and I think she quit gymnastics a year or two ahead of me. Yeah, that's her. And she was like, hey, just like have her try it. And like a couple other of my gymnast friends were like kind of dabbling in CrossFit, so I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And then shortly after, or I believe it was shortly after I joined, Michaela went to the CrossFit Games and competed, and like I kind of saw that process. I was like, okay, like if I know I can compete in it, and like I don't know, yeah,
You missed the dry heaving. You missed the dry heaving.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I miss just like absolutely torturing myself. So I was like, sign me up.
So you want it? So wow. I'm trying to think if I ever. I'm sure I've heard it before, but I just don't hear it very often. So you came to CrossFit, and the appeal for you really is the competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a super competitive person in like everything I do. So if there's like something that I know I can be good at, and there's a competition in it, I'm like, sign me up.
And so these gymnastic skills just translated seamlessly to all the things you had to do: the clean and jerk, the snatch, the toes to bar, the ring muscle ups, the burpees. You were just like, yeah, this is easy peasy, at least learning the movements.
Yeah, I think I definitely pick things up a little bit faster than like other people might if they don't have a gymnastics background. Just having that like bodily awareness. And I remember like snatching, that was super hard for me to like first do. It felt so foreign. And honestly, like all of the lifts did. But like as far as like ring muscle ups and bar muscle ups went, we never really did those as like a female gymnast, but just like having the bodily awareness of like knowing where you're, like how to kip, or like where your feet have to be and whatnot, definitely helped out a ton.
In the gymnastics facilities, obviously there's rings there.
Mm-hmm.
When the women are training or the girls are training, is it just like, no, that's for the boys? It's just like, don't go over there?
Yeah, pretty much. I remember there was one gymnastics coach that we had that was a male, and like he was our strength and conditioning coach, and occasionally he'd have us like play around on the rings, and he taught us like strict ring muscle ups. He taught us how to use the parallel bars. But it was, we stopped working with him once we got into like the higher levels, and he actually ended up moving away. So it had been a while, and I had put on like probably 100 pounds between like just being like a small little 7-year-old to like a 14-year-old. So
I mean, it's kind of like that in CrossFit gyms. You know, there's always the rings there, but like there's only a small percentage of the gym population that uses the high rings. Everyone else just kind of looks at them like, I wonder what it'd be like.
One day. Yeah.
What a great perspective you just put on, that you put on 100 pounds while doing a sport.
Yeah, actually.
I mean, that's wrong. Like, I know, but what it's great. I mean, like Hiller's doing steroids and trying to put on 10 pounds. You just happen to be a 5-year-old kid to a 14-year-old girl and put on 100. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So that was definitely like a big battle too in gymnastics, was like your weight, because obviously naturally as you get bigger, you're gonna get heavier. And I think whenever I quit gymnastics, I was like 120 pounds, and then when I started CrossFit, I put on like 15 pounds of muscle within like the first like probably 6 months of doing it. So
wow. Hey, if you could go back and talk to your gymnastic self younger, knowing you were going to be doing CrossFit, would you? I mean, did you guys do any running as gymnasts? Did you
Those
guys do
15 pounds are just because she started squatting.
yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing that gymnasts don't do, right? You guys don't squat and you guys don't run.
Not really. I remember doing I remember we did our running was a mile on the floor, which is I believe it was something stupid like 36 or something, I don't know, like laps around the floor. So you're literally just going in circles and like getting dizzy.
And every step you get a nice little spring that's not natural.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
And then like running for like vault, but gymnasts also aren't taught running form. So we like run like chest way back, like arched back, and it's honestly I still like somewhat carry
The
that
antithesis
with
of the
me.
pose method.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, sometimes I'll like catch myself when I'm like doing sprints, my chest will be like back and like my back's arched. I'm like, wow, this is so wrong. But that's just the former gymnast days coming through.
If you could talk to the younger version of yourself, knowing that you're going to do CrossFit, would you have just done more running, more squatting, or no?
Maybe, but also like probably not, because those were probably my two least favorite things. So I don't know if I would have had like the will to do it when I was younger.
How are they now? Do you still not like them? Do you still not, or is running and squatting your least favorite?
I'd probably say they are my least favorite, but I've definitely grown a ton with like how much I like them, especially in the past like couple months since the games. I've been hitting squats like crazy and running like 2 to 3 days a week, because those are probably my two biggest weaknesses. So I'm learning to love them, or just telling myself that I love them and tricking myself. I don't know. Either way.
So when you're 14, so basically you do CrossFit for a year. Basically you start a month before the games, you see your friend go to the games, and then you go around the full calendar year, and now you're the open happens and you enter the open. And do you start telling yourself that you think you're going to make it?
Oh, for sure.
And what do your mom and dad think about your new CrossFit obsession? I'm guessing by then you were going 5 days a week.
Yeah. They like, it was the place that I did CrossFit in was like just like a beaten down little plaza. It had like a car shop, a like marble shop. It was definitely like really sketchy for my parents to like drop me off there.
Like a dirty strip mall with a CrossFit gym in it?
Yes, basically.
I like it.
Yeah, and we would like be running around the parking lot, and my parents were like, okay, is this literally a cult that we're dropping our daughter off to? And I mean, obviously we all joke that CrossFit's like kind of like a cult, and you know, you drink the Kool-Aid, whatever. But like, I think by the time I made the games, they were starting to understand CrossFit a little bit more. But even while they were like at the CrossFit games, my mom had no idea what was going on. My dad probably didn't either. But they're like, what the heck is this? And it was like so foreign to them. But shortly after I got them both in the gym. So
were they worried about your physical safety at all? Like, you know, overhead squatting these 135-pound bars, or was it they'd already seen gymnastics? This was already like, hey, this is safer than gymnastics.
I think my dad's kind of like more like, whatever, you know, she's gonna do what she's gonna do. But my mom has always been a little bit of a worrywart, and like I think she still kind of is, where she's like, oh my God, it's like so crazy that you're lifting all that weight. But now that she's like kind of doing it herself, she understands that like I know how to do it safely, and like I don't know.
Jethro says, Paige certainly seems older on the competition floor. I keep forgetting how old this generation of athletes is. Yet there was an interview where she's saying she had to go back to figure out who Rich was, because she was too young to watch him compete. That is just, that's amazing. How old are you now? You're 20, 22?
I'm 19.
19.
About to turn 20.
You were holding a champagne bottle in one of those pictures. Shame on
He was
you.
in Italy.
Listen, it was in Italy. Yeah.
Is the drinking age there 18? Probably,
Yeah.
right?
Did you see her face
actually
afterwards? She's like, oh.
Yeah, they let the kids in the club at 15 there. So, yeah, drinking age is not really applicable in Italy, at least from what I saw.
So then you make it to the games your first year, and is it before or after that point that you're hooked?
It was definitely before. I think like probably from the first open that I did, I was like kind of just like hooked on like even just like making the games. It was like it was the chase to it that was like I loved it. And then to like make the games on top of it, I was like, okay, like yeah, I want to do this for as long as I possibly can.
Brian, how can someone who's only been doing CrossFit 1 year make it to the games? How is that?
Well, I
is
don't
that
think
because
it's possible in the elite division,
but
in the teenage
yeah.
division, and especially
even at 14.
I know, but yeah, and I think keep in mind what year was that? The first year,
2018.
which is only I think maybe the third year, fourth year at most of teenage division even being around. So it's kind of like put it on par with like a 2010 or 11 CrossFit Games, Sevan, where you could have someone like I'm trying to think of who, like a Josh Bridges. Like he showed up in 2011, took second place. Like it's less and less likely to happen as time goes on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also like it was top 20 in 2018 whenever I qualified. I'm not sure what it is now because I think it's changed like 5 times since I've like started CrossFit.
That's true. It's twice as hard. There's only half as many spots now.
Yeah, so I remember like I qualified in 13th place from the age group qualifier, and then I ended up placing like third at the games.
Which is exactly why, and I understand from a logistics standpoint why they do it, why I've been a proponent of keeping it at 20. And actually, Chad Schrader's written articles about how many athletes like that there are who've qualified 11th through 20th, not just in the teenage divisions, but also the masters divisions, and have gone on to place in the top 10, top 5 podium, and in rare cases, even win the games. So you're not really casting a broad enough net through the online qualifier to get the best results for those divisions at the games with 10. That's my opinion.
I think
Paige agrees. She's nodding like yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think like so the next year, my first year in the 16-17, it was top 10, and it was definitely like there's a couple people I remember seeing on the leaderboard that is like, oh, like I thought they would have had a chance at like the podium or like at least top 5 had they made it in the 16-17 division, but.
Oh wow! So you're saying you saw people who didn't even make it to the games, where you're thinking like, hey, if they would have been here, they'd have done really well.
Yeah.
What's wrong? That means the tests aren't right to get to choose the right people.
I don't think so. I remember like the age group qualifier workouts being pretty well rounded. I don't know. It's so different with like. All of the teenagers are still like in school, and it's like games training, like you have the whole summer off, so you can just like train as much as you want, and then like the results are like different at the games. I'm not exactly sure. I do think like top 20 or even like top 15, I feel like that'd be like a little bit more reasonable than top 10, but
so you're not just saying that just to get in more athletes. You're just saying, hey, the games for teens specifically, they need more people because for some reason the choosing process to get to the games isn't dialed in enough to pick the fittest. Is that what you're saying too, Brian?
Well, yeah, kind of. But basically, I'm saying there is a lot more that can be tested and will be tested at the games, and even more so in the age group divisions, because none of the previous qualifiers happen live or in person. So you're restricted by what you can test online, and therefore there's a lot of unknown elements that will show up at the CrossFit games. If you've got 20, I think you're much more likely to find out who actually has that kind of next level of fitness that the games is meant to test for.
Right.
If you have 10, you
I
might
agree.
miss out on a few of those athletes.
Yeah.
Is when you look back at the competition now, does it look way harder? Like when you look at these 14-year-olds, like have you seen the growth since when you were there when you were 18 already? Like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this already.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the people that are like from Haley's age range to like mine and younger have definitely like changed the age group division, and like the girls are so fit now, and like even Olivia Kerstetter, she's like on the up and rise, and like we've seen it, in the past 2 years with Mel, Emma Carey, Emma Lawson this year. So it's like it's crazy to see like where they're taking not only the teenage division but like pushing through to the open division.
Yeah, you just named off a bunch of girls that you might be spending the next 5 or 10 years competing with. They may be the only names that anyone knows in 5 or 10 years. What a great crew. So your 25th place finish, are you
well, let's pause there for a sec.
Okay, please.
So we can talk about that, of course, but I've been thinking about this the whole time, and I didn't know if you were going to find the pattern. So 2 years ago, excellent quarterfinals, less than excellent semifinals. This season, excellent semifinals. Caleb, if we can pull up the semifinals from Atlas Games, I don't think that this gets talked about enough with regards to Paige. I mean, these were Emma Lawson's finishes: second, first, sixth, third, first, and these were Paige's: first, seventh, second, third, first, second. It's almost identical. It's a 1 spot off, 8 points off, but Emma won and Paige got second. And then you go to the games, and Emma had a great performance there, and you had a less good performance they did at semifinals. So it's almost like the same pattern repeated itself, just one stage later in the season.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really noticed that, but now that you say it,
look at that. They're so far ahead of everyone else.
It was a bit of a shock to me, like going from second place in semifinals to 25th place in the games. I'm like,
God, you have such crazy self-belief. I freaking love it.
I mean, just like the competitor in me, I'm like, I always want to win everything. So it's like, I want to get as close to possible as winning. Like it doesn't matter like what the competition is. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, if I like do everything that I can and like I perform the best to my abilities, I'm happy with that. But there's always like something inside of me, like even at Atlas Games, I had a great performance, like probably one of the best performances in my life. And I was still like, first place was so close. It almost like kind of hurt a little bit.
Brian, what were you explaining there? I didn't get what you were saying. What was the pattern? The pattern went complete. You guys,
2021.
Yeah.
Good quarterfinals performance.
Yeah.
Relatively bad semifinals. So she goes and processes that and prepares for the next season. She comes back the next season. Good semifinals performance, relatively bad games performance. So I would assume that this year she'll go back and try to see, well, why did I do better at semifinals at the games? Put another year of work in. And so then we'll see what happens in season 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you pull up those semifinal scores? Are you really that competitive with Emma Lawson, or is it really just that you guys were just the two best? So you beat her in the first workout. Second workout, there's 36 seconds. Third workout, only 6 seconds. Next workout, you beat her by 3 places. Workout after that, you beat her by almost a minute. Workout. Can you believe I said excuse me? I know. I just keep thinking her parents are listening. I just want to be a good boy. Workout 6. Second place, you guys basically leave the field in the dust. She beats you by 13 seconds. Let's see workout 7. So you really are competitive with them. Okay, that's it. So you really are. Wow. And what place did Emma Lawson take at the games?
I think just 7th, 8th.
Oh yeah, you should be ashamed of yourself, Paige.
I'm sorry. I know
I am
she's in top
completely
10.
dude. 25th. The fact that you made it to the games is absolutely nuts. Can we look at the games competition? Can we look at the leaderboard there, Caleb? What was the best you did at the games, Paige?
I believe my best event was the echo bike and wall facing strict handstand push up, which
God,
I think was like 6th.
How happy are you that you have handstand push-ups? What a nightmare it is for the people who don't have that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like,
what a dark hole to fall into if you're a CrossFit Games athlete. If that's your whole, man, that's just a bummer.
Yeah, I am really glad that handstand push-ups are something that I'm good at. And then like it was kind of fun this year with like the wall facing and deficit. It was almost like I love bench pressing, and it was almost like a incline bench that like your shoulders were like put into that position. So I really enjoyed that event because I didn't really like struggle that much on the handstand. Like I surprised myself. I was struggling in the warm-up area, but out there I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun. So
do you notice that with any other workouts or other athletes? I feel like I hear that all the time at the games. Like we were back in the back, we're trying this thing out. Everyone's kind of struggling with it. We go on the floor, everyone crushes it.
Yeah. So I remember specifically the sandbag clean 1 rep max event. It was insane to like watch it all unfold because in the back in the warm-up area, people were barely hitting the 150, 160. And then you have girls out there going like, I mean, obviously Danny Spiegel with the 250 was insane, but like the other girls hitting 240, 230, it was like crazy to watch. And like it was kind of funny too because like you'd see them like inch the bag up and like get another bag, and they're like, you could see the surprise on their face too. So
you guys do that at all at Mayhem? Did you guys mess with those at all before the games?
No, I think the heaviest sandbag I had touched before that event was 150. And honestly, we didn't really do it that often either. So,
and has that changed?
It's rare even that an event will show up at a programming where the women have 150-pound sandbag. Like
right.
Most of the stuff is 150 and 100.
Yeah. Yeah, we typically used the 100-pound and like we do sandbag cleans quite often and like cycling the 100.
Is that 100 right there?
Yeah.
God, you're a savage.
Yeah.
I cannot believe how easy you picked that off the ground.
That is so we just crazy. Do a lot of them. So yeah, it was like the 150. If we ever touched it, it would be there Bill goes. The 150 would typically be like a sandbag carry and like some sort of like strongman workout. So it was like the difference between like getting it to your stomach area to like your shoulder is pretty big when it starts to get heavy. So
God, there's a video in that event, like at 1826 or something in the sandbag event. I saw it last night when I was looking for some footage of you, and Freya Moosberger, basically she gets the bag up and it basically just spits her out to the side.
Oh yeah,
because the bag's so heavy. I'm like,
that
what?
Happened to me too.
That did. Oh, I thought it happened to you when I was looking for it, but I only found Freya's.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Because I saw this look on your face, like I'm like, did she get spit out by the bag? Because I saw this look on your face, like someone slapped you, like you looked insulted when you looked back at the bag. I was like, what just happened?
It was like the most wild thing. I think it was with the 170. Like, I remember I was struggling with it, and then, like, I finally got it somewhat up to my shoulder, and then the next thing I knew, I was literally just, like, on the ground. I was like, what happened? Yeah.
Hey, I don't know if you can find that hers, Caleb. It's got to be before 1826, because I think at that point they're doing the 180, and you did the 180 pretty well. You did the 180 pretty good.
Yeah, the 180 I struggled with less than the 170, but
yeah. It was
I don't know
weird
what
how it was
happened.
spitting people out. It was like literally like pushing down on them, and then they would just go flying out.
Yeah.
I'd be like, wait, what happened now?
Yeah, I know. I saw it happen to a couple girls before me. I was like, oh, like that's not gonna happen to me. Next thing I know, I pick it up and it spits me out.
And it was somewhat
dang.
of an unpredictable event. I remember, I tried to watch the group of 4 or 5, whatever it was, and I'd be like, okay, I think in that group, this might be the next person out. So the next time I'd watch that one, and then out of the corner of my eye, I'd see someone else,
Yes,
flying across the floor. I'm like, oh man.
just inching it up. Yeah.
Do you have time to be embarrassed out there, Paige, or it's not like that at all? It's like you don't give it. It's like
there was definitely like a split second of embarrassment when I got spit out. But after that, it was just like I was so focused on the next bag that it didn't really matter.
yeah, you can't even be right.
Yeah.
You can't
I kinda
indulge
just,
in that at all.
Yeah, I forgot about it until like somebody brings it up or I don't know.
Right. So you're on a podcast and someone shows you the video of you getting spit out.
Yeah. Also, like in the 2018 games, the last event, I flew off the bar on toes to bar. It was toe to the bar sandbag cleans, and I flew off the bar on the last set, and I was still able to like gather myself together and like win the workout, which is what got me on the podium. But that was also something that was like highly made fun of for like until this day. So
Toes to bar and your grip gave way because you were pushing into the red zone.
yes. Yeah.
Did you know it was gonna were you like, was that a calculated risk or just completely unexpected?
Honestly, it was unexpected.
Wow.
I mean, my grip was shot, but I didn't realize how shot it was, and I was just trying to hang on to like get the podium spot. And I mean, it was a relatively like quick, like I fell. My judge still no rep me even though I fell, which was like hilarious. And then
You're laying on your back, and the judge is like, no.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, thank you. And then Larry just like got right back up and finished my like 3 or 4 toes to bar and sandbag cleans, and that was that.
Paige, is there a part of being a great CrossFit Games competitor, like when you guys look at someone like Matt or Tia, do you guys just think, wow, they must hurt more than us in practice? Like, is there any simple equation that you can just put there? Like, wow, like when I was on the assault bike, I did have 0.5% more, and that's where Tia's not holding back. Like, is there any equation that's like, yeah, they just hurt more in practice?
I do think that like, yeah, that has a part to do with it. And then like training volume itself, like they're, probably doing more. And then also I think like genetics are a huge component to it. I was actually
God, I don't want to believe that. Really, it is a lot genetics.
I do think so. I've had this conversation quite a bit recently with my friends, but like I do think that genetics, like you can't beat genetics and hard work on top of it. Like you can, if you lack the genetic component and then you're still working as hard as you can, you're never going to get to like the point where I believe like Tia is, where she has a strong genetic component and then also that like ability to like work hard and just like grind and go in a dark space all the time. But I don't know.
We had Sprague on here the other day, and he said like it had been 3 years since he had done a max row effort. And we just all made the assumption why, right? It's a freaking nightmare.
Yeah.
Right. But then you hear about people like Matt, who every morning claims he did that to himself on the assault bike every morning. And the thought of that, I just don't think 1 in a million men can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell myself I'm going to go as hard as I can, and I watch my body say, no, you're not, and pull back. Now I'm just a little old dude in a garage, but the hurting thing is really huge, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that I've tried to get better at this off season. I think there's like some people in CrossFit that they literally like they just enjoy that kind of pain. Whereas like other people kind of like me, I have to like tell myself this is what's going to like make you better on the competition floor. Like I don't necessarily like every day want to be blacking out on the assault bike or like, I mean, that just like
Right.
doesn't sound, that appeasing to me, but it's like,
It's where the adaptation might be.
Like gets me to that place in training is like thinking about my end goals and like how it's going to better me. But it's not like, hey, like, it's a great day. The sun is shining. I want to black out today. Like,
Right.
And there's totally different styles of suffering. Like, I'm pretty good if you go 15 plus minutes. I can just kind of get to a threshold and stay there. But if we have a 2 to 5 minute workout, I'm going to lose to a lot of people because I'm not willing to go to that sixth gear for 3 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I just think that I'm convinced that's where the most of the adaptation happens, in that horrible place.
That's why Fran is such a famous workout.
Is this the...
Oh, are we gonna get to see her get spit out? Look at Caleb's laughing. I can see Caleb laughing. What? She's dead center. She's in the middle lane.
Yeah.
Okay. No more than 7 seconds at a time. These people hate me. They would love to fucking ding me. 7 seconds at a time. Oh, here we go. A dead center right in the middle is the great Paige Powers in her rookie year at the CrossFit Games.
Yep.
Oh,
there I go.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Were you drinking before that event? How much did you take a shot of whiskey? What were you doing?
It literally, yeah. I don't know what I was doing, but got a little wobbly there for a sec and just
look at your surrogate mom back there, Bailey Rail. She's like, what?
Yes. Yeah.
I wish you would have come out there and kicked the bag or stabbed it with a knife. How dare you do that to Paige?
Yes, Bailey. Yeah, she literally is like my mom. Sometimes she's like a sister and a mom, and I just remember like in that moment, like her being behind me, I was like, she's probably so stressed out right now, but I'm gonna give this thing another go. I was like, sorry to do that to you before you're about to go, but.
Kayla, one more time. Let us watch the great Paige Powers.
This is an amazing microcosm of sport in general. Like if you watch this, you think she's completed the lift.
No,
it's not quite done. And if you fast forward to the men's final bag, in 2 instances, I think with Fikowski, or just definitely, it's the same thing. You thought he had it, and he didn't, and the next thing you know, it's over. And you got to stay focused all the way through.
Tell me more, Brian. What do you mean? What do you mean? You think she has it? Because she got it up, but she didn't.
Look at it. Like from this angle, it looks like she's going to finish this lift for sure.
Yeah.
But and it may just be it was beyond the physical capacity. It may be that she had that mental thing. I got this. It's on my shoulder. But you got to stay focused until you get the call from your judge. And if you lose focus for an instant, then you lose those points.
For sure.
Here we go. Okay, it's up. Yeah, yeah, she got it.
Yeah.
Oh, so just a little bit on your head. So basically, you leaned it on your head, and your head went that way, and your body went that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was like already so like unstable.
Sorry, look at that shot. She's got it under her arm like a football, like she's a running back there.
Yeah, just peak athleticism right there. That's lovely.
Hey, do you play any other sports? Do you do like when you go out there? Like, do you do with Mayhem? Do you play flag football with Rich or volleyball, or do you do baseball, or do you do any pickleball, or you doing any of that stuff?
Not really. I'd actually love to get more into like athletic and like specifically like ball sports, because I'm really good at like using my body for things like snowboarding I can do, wake surfing I can do, but like when it comes to like that hand-eye coordination or like eye-foot coordination, I lack that quite a bit. So I'd like to like get better at that. I have been like occasionally shooting basketballs in the gym and just like try to get better at that, but that's kind of like one of my like outside CrossFit goals, because like again, I'm super competitive, so if like people invite me to play like just a fun game of softball with them and I'm not doing good, or like I can't hit the ball as much as I want to, I start to get pretty mad. So yeah, I'd like to get more athletic this year for sure.
Do you actually live in Cookeville?
Yes. Yep.
And I think I heard you say your brother lived in Cookeville?
Yeah, he actually lives with me. for at least another couple months until he graduates.
How did he end up in Cookville? Does he have games aspirations also?
No, he does not. He ended up here for college at Tennessee Tech, and
That's not even a real college, is it?
yeah, surprisingly it is. Golden Eagles, I believe it is. But him and my mom drove down to Tennessee, to University of Tennessee to look at that college originally when he that's where he wanted to go. And
was he a CrossFitter?
No.
No.
Him and my mom weren't. Actually, it was only me at the time that was doing CrossFit, and they said that they were gonna pass through Cookville to look at Tennessee Tech. I was like, oh, hey, that's pretty cool. Can you like stop in CrossFit Mayhem and grab me a shirt? And so they like went in there, and it was so foreign to them. Like, it was because obviously like it's a huge gym, and they're like, what are we doing here? They didn't even know what Mayhem was. And they met Darren Hunsucker there, and he was like basically just like, hey, like, I'm from Michigan, and like Darren's like a people person, so he was like chatting it up with them, and they like kind of immediately like felt like a homie feeling there. And Tennessee Tech was like quite a bit of a smaller school than University of Tennessee, so I think that was like more attractive to my brother to come down here for his degree. But yeah, it was like they came down here before, like, I mean, I had like just started CrossFit, and like obviously I knew Mayhem because they're, you know, one of the biggest gyms. And yeah.
The weird synchronicity here for people who aren't following the story is that Darren Hunsucker is, you know, jokingly but arguably one of the greatest coaches ever of any CrossFit Games athlete. He was Rich's cousin. He coached Rich through all the years. Now he's the programmer for the affiliate programming for Mayhem. Whenever Rich talks about him, Rich lights up. You can tell there's an immense respect for him. But the weird part is this guy, I think, lives 30 minutes away from Paige in her hometown of Michigan. But then here's her parents or your brother and your mom visiting Mayhem, and he happened to be there, and they ran into him. Yeah. And is that how then you started working? Did they mention you to Darren, and then you started working with Darren up in Michigan? Because that was your first coach, right? Working with
he wasn't my first coach.
Or first sort of games coach, maybe. No?
Sort of. So the original coach that I was working with, he owned the gym that I was going to, and he coached Michaela to the CrossFit Games.
Oh, okay.
And then he also got me and another teenage girl to the CrossFit Games. And
what was his name? Sorry, no disrespect to him. What was his name?
Adam Paulson.
Okay.
And then so whenever my brother decided to actually go to Tennessee Tech, and like we all came down and moved him into his dorm, and of course like I wanted to come to, you know, be supportive sister, but also to check out CrossFit Mayhem. And so that's where I met Darren and Jess, his wife. And Jess was working for or she still is working for M2 Performance Nutrition, and I was working with Mike, who owns it, and he kind of like connected us together and like told Jess I was coming down. So like we instantly hit it off, and she was super sweet, and she was like, hey, we're moving back to Michigan like in a couple months, and I think we're like right in your area. I was like, oh my God, that's like great. And at the time, the gym that I started at was kind of like on its way out, and the situation wasn't super ideal. And obviously when you get like an opportunity to be trained by CrossFit, like Rich Froning's coach, and like kind of somebody that's like been with him throughout his whole career, you take him up on that. So I started training with their cousin JJ, who was like a half hour from me in Michigan. And then whenever they eventually moved up to Michigan, they started coming in working out with us, and Darren started coaching me.
Crazy,
yeah.
small world. And at that point, did you know that, hey, someday I'm going to end up down there in Cookeville?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. I wanted to like ride out being in Michigan with them as long as possible. Because it was such a great environment up there, and they're all like a second family to me now. So it was like they were a big part of like them, and my family were a big part of me wanting to stay in Michigan. And then Jess and Darren were like, hey, we think if you really want to make a splash in the individual side of things, that the best thing for your career would be to move to Cookeville. So
be sure. Wow, very generous. Thank you. The future of the sport is bright. I know, isn't it? It's crazy talking to Paige. The future of the sport is bright on the elite women's side with athletes like Paige. I know. I'm telling you. You say that all 4 podcasts you've been on, you were the star. You saved them. Those people should. You're saving this one too. I'm sending out this money. I've never said that to any guest. I've never even offered to share any money with Brian. Now I'm thinking I should send you $25.
That's great.
Yeah, I really mean that. You're so freaking cool, and your performances are so amazing. Yeah, you are you're a special person. You have you're a special athlete, and you can tell you work hard just from all those videos. And it is really cool. Going back to the Bailey Rail thing, it's very obvious that Bailey needs a child, because the way she treats you and talks to you, like she's like she wants to mama you, which is cool. Your parents must be pretty. Are your parents happy? Are they concerned? Like, hey, what are you doing with this Rich Froning and this Gee? And thank God for Bailey.
Well, I mean, they know that like whenever I was in Michigan, Darren and JJ constantly gave me crap like brothers. So it was kind of a similar situation down here where like, like you're with all the boys and they immediately just start giving you crap. Their newest thing is like, the ropes are in the athlete space are apparently my face. So whenever they, I irritate them or I'm in their presence, they look at me and then punch the rope, which is yeah. So they really like to
Cookeville. It's okay, people. This is Tennessee. It's different. It's different.
Like,
don't anyone get stressed out.
Yeah, I'm like, I swear. Well, I hope they love me, but they also like to give me some crap. So Bailey is like, she's mama sometimes, and she stands up for me, and like we'll kind of like make our own jokes together. And I mean, we think we're really funny. Rich maybe not, but we secretly think he's laughing inside.
He goes back home and he smiles and thinks about it.
You're a young girl. He's an old man. He's turning into the grumpy lion, and you're the puppy.
How'd you get on that team for Italy?
So I believe originally Haley was supposed to be on the team with Bailey, Tyler, and Rich.
What was the team? Tell me, explain this to me before you go into
the
it.
One where she was drinking champagne.
Yeah. What was the team, and where'd you compete?
So it was me, Bailey, Tyler, and Rich. And
you're living the dream. You're living the dream.
Yeah, it was such a cool opportunity. I'm super grateful for it. It was such a fun time. But basically, I mean, they had it planned out for like months in advance. And after the games, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but Haley was unable to compete on the team. So Rich texted me like 2 days after the games, and he was like, hey, Italy, you in or you out? I was like, hey.
That's how he says it? That's how he says it?
Yeah. And like, it was so funny because like, I didn't know any details. I didn't know the exact dates. I just knew it was like sometime within the next like month. I was like, shoot, sign me up.
Like, Rich,
I'm down for a trip to
personal
Italy.
Text from Rich. Are you going to Italy with us? I don't have to ask any other questions. I'm in.
Yeah. Sign me up, coach. Yeah. So.
How old are you right here in this picture?
19.
Do you have to ask your parents if you can go?
Not really. They've actually been pretty like they've been super supportive of like whatever I choose to do, and like they're not afraid to give me their opinion and their advice, but like, I definitely, well, I was in Michigan at the time. I was like, hey, Rich just like texted me if I wanted to go to Italy. And they're like, yeah, like, do it. So.
Oh, okay. And did you have a chaperone, or is Bailey the chaperone? Like, is this your first time overseas?
Facundo was there. Everyone was taken care of.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's
Yes.
nice. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, Facundo came in clutch that week because none of us speak Italian. So he obviously knows like a crazy amount of languages, Italian being one. So that came in very good use. But yeah, it was like with my parents, like knowing that I was going to be with like such a great group, Rich included and their family, and Hillary and the kids were there. She was like, she knew I was going to be taken care of. But I have been overseas before, never like on a trip without my family. So it was a little different, but it was really fun. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, what a journey. And how long was that trip?
It was, I think it was close to 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay, so it's just a couple days of competition, and then you got to like, and then do you just roll with Bailey every day? Like you wake up in the morning, you text her like, let's go get a coffee, let's go walk around Italy.
Yeah, sort of. We actually had like, we were a group for most of the trip. There was like maybe the Monday after competition where there was like a small group of us, like Bailey and I, and probably Tyler tagged along. And we kind of just like took scooters to like
You have that skill? You can ride a scooter?
Yeah.
Motorized
Bailey
scooter?
and Tyler are dating, but Tyler was the one tagging a lot.
Yes. Yeah. So it was like Bailey and I came up with the plan, and then Tyler, joined in. Yeah. Sometimes we do that to him.
Hey, any Italian boys chasing you around on that trip?
Yeah, but yeah, that didn't really.
But they're there. They're like flies. They
tried.
Yeah.
They're like flies. They're chasing you around. It's flattering. It's nice. You need some Italian. You can't go to Italy without some Italian boys chasing you around.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an ego boost, confidence boost, a little bit.
Yeah.
But the Italians, definitely their culture, like they love, and they'll do anything.
They love.
Yes.
Okay, I like this.
Yeah, like they will do anything for true love, which is kind of like cute, but it's definitely very different.
Did you eat pizza in Italy?
I did.
I eat a pizza every day when I'm in Italy.
Yeah, it was really good, but also I have celiac disease, so I can't have gluten, which presented some challenges in Italy, but they were also very good with like gluten-free pizza, gluten-free pasta, but there was a couple of days where I was getting a little hangry from
Caleb. Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Celiac disease, sometimes called celiac sprue or gluten sensitivity enteropathy. Enteropathy. It is an immune. Wow, that was weird. I thought Caleb came on and helped me for a second. Enteropathy is an immune reaction to eating gluten. Why can't they just say that in the first sentence? It's an immune reaction to eating gluten, a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. If you have celiac disease, eating gluten triggers an immune response and makes you want to protest in Portland. Wow. Okay. How do you know you have that? What happens? You start farting a lot?
Actually, no. For me, it was actually around the time that I was quitting gymnastics. That whole year it was like super weird. I was super lethargic all the time, like literally falling asleep in class. Anytime I'd get in the car on a 5-minute ride to gymnastics, I'd be falling asleep. I was constantly tired. And my mom was the first one to notice. She was like, "This is not right."
And your mom's a nurse, an oncology nurse, so
yes.
She knows some shit. Okay.
Yes, and she was an ER nurse for 16 years, so she's definitely been in the field quite a bit. But she was like, "Yeah, something's not right, so we're gonna get you checked out." And I went to so many different doctors, and a lot of them well, actually all of them tested me for like depression. And I was like, I swear, like, I'm not lying on these tests. Like, I'm not depressed. That wasn't the case. And finally, one of my doctors was like, okay.
Hey, let me ask you this though before you go to the climax of the story. Was there a chance that they could have told you were depressed? Did you, when they start telling you that, is it like crossing the border, you know, with Mexico, and they're like looking for drugs, and you're like, shit, do I have drugs? Were you like starting to be like, am I depressed? Like, what's going on? I don't know.
Yeah, no, after like the 5th time of being like tested, I was like, I mean, I swear I'm not, but maybe like if you're
maybe
telling
I
me
am.
I don't know. But like I passed all their depression tests with like flying colors. So I was like, I don't like, obviously something else is the problem. I was tested for like mono, like a whole bunch of things.
Disease. That's the kissing disease.
Is it?
I don't know. That's what they used to say in high school. I had mono, and I'd never kissed a girl before. I was bummed, but
I don't. Well,
never heard that. Mono.
You learned something new.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, so they like one of my doctors ended up testing me for celiac, and she's like, it's probably not this, but I'm gonna test you anyways. And then like the blood work came back positive for it, so I had to get like a scope down my stomach to take like a piece of tissue, and they ended up finding like a giant ulcer. So I was literally getting like no nutrients whenever I was eating. And there was like quite a few things that like I realized were like wrong with me as soon as I went off of gluten. Like I was having rashes on my arms that went away. Obviously like I was more awake and alert, and I actually found this out like quite recently, but like gluten can make your brain like foggy sometimes. Something about the protein itself. And so like I found once I went off of it, I had a much better time like concentrating in school. Yeah, it was pretty wild. And then like stomach pain started going away. So
hey, was the ulcer do you think that was related to the anxiety just with gymnastics and the throwing up and all that?
I think that did have like something to do with it.
So is that and the gluten? It was like and then you said you fractured your femur or something. Do you think that's from not getting enough nutrition?
No, that was an accident.
Oh.
Yeah, I dislocated my knee on the beam. And like I just like missed the skill and whacked the side of my knee and just like popped out. But they do say that like celiac disease, like the symptoms of it can sit dormant for years, but if something like traumatic happens, it can spark it to like start flaring up, which is like right after I dislocated my knee, I started noticing like the symptoms of it happening, which was pretty like wild. But
so no gluten, you're done with gluten.
No gluten.
Yeah. Is that hard?
It's definitely easier nowadays because eating gluten-free is kind of like trendy and people like to think that it's healthy. So there's lots of gluten-free options now. It was a little tougher whenever I first started, especially because I'm a huge sweets person. But like naturally with starting CrossFit, I wanted to start eating healthier to optimize my performance. So, you know, my diet pretty much started looking like chicken, rice, sweet potatoes, beef, just like plain stuff. But it's like, whenever I have to go out to eat or like taking the trip to Italy, it was a little bit harder to deal with it. Because you can't just like eat something and like, you know, it could even be like chicken and rice and just like what they season it with has gluten in it. So
do you accidentally eat it pretty often? Like when you were in Italy, you're like, yep, got a little gluten, I can tell.
Actually in Italy, I couldn't tell. But they also, I've seen like certain things where like people with celiac can literally eat like bread and like real bread and real pasta in Italy, because something about like the harvesting process with the wheat, rye, and barley, like they don't use the protein, gluten to like, I don't know, something like that. That could be totally wrong. That could totally be false.
No, some people were mentioning something about this in the chat, that the grains are different in North America than in Europe.
Yeah, so I actually felt like so good in Italy. I felt like not bloated at all, and I like was never tired from like eating gluten or like being exposed possibly. But as soon as we came back to North America, our layover was in Boston, and I got food there that was like probably like cross contamination bothers me, and like I got sweet potato fries, which were probably fried with the in the same oil as other gluten containing things, and immediately I had like a sharp stomach ache. So
Oh, that sucks.
yeah, but it was.
Is there anything you can do when that happens, or you just have to let it pass?
You can take. I've noticed that like Pepsid helps, or like Tums. But if I don't have anything on me in the moment, I kind of just have to like sit there in pain
and be like, I knew better. I knew better.
Yeah.
You're competing at Wadapalooza still?
Yes, I am. Yep.
And why?
How
come?
I just feel like it's a fun off-season competition. Like I've enjoyed it in years past. So now that this year it's like only 2 days and I kind of get to enjoy the rest of my weekend, that was a little bit more attractive for me to sign up for it.
It's cool that you guys get to go first. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Were you tempted to do both competitions, or maybe the team instead of the individual?
I was tempted to do both. There was like talk about maybe getting a team together, but I just felt like doing 4 days of competition in January would just be like too much for my body and for my mental. So, just, I don't know, kind of just using the individual competition for like fun and to like see where I am and get a tan. That'd be nice.
I mean, there are a lot of athletes doing both. I think it's, I don't know if it's the best decision or not. You know, we'll have to see.
Yeah. Personally, I don't think that would have been super smart or healthy for me to do. So,
what do you think? What do you think you're going to place there? You think you're going to win this? You think you're going to be top 5?
I'd love to be top 5. I think that'd be great. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I feel like
$75,000, Paige.
Yeah, that's a pretty penny. So, I've been working super hard on my weaknesses this off season. So, like, love to see how it applies to competition. And
what's that look like? What's that look like?
When you say that, like, we could just say, you know, well, maybe long running is one of those weaknesses you've been targeting. You talked about running 3 times a week. Are you hoping a long run shows up at this? So you're like, I want to see in competition.
Yeah, kind of that. Like between that and like squatting, like that ring muscle up squat workout. That's pretty heavy for me. And I did test it earlier this week, and already I could tell that I can handle that weight so much better than I could like last year. And then as far as like running goes, I feel like I've improved like a ton on it. So I'd love to see like where I stack up on it this year. And like, I feel like off-season competition is the perfect place to be a marker of like, hey, I still need to do like, I need to, even if it's like a shorter run and like rounds in a workout, like just to see where I stack up and like, hey, I still need to work on this. So like, let's keep hammering it.
Yeah. And it's, sometimes you train something and it's like, this is the thing I'm targeting. And then you go to competition, it doesn't show up at all. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh man, I would have really loved to see if I've gotten better at X or Y. Right. But I think also when you're talking about the running and how you stack up, because this is what I felt when you talked about the squats, are you talking more about how you stacked up compared to what you used to feel like doing a similar event, or compared to the field, or maybe a little bit of both?
Yeah, definitely a little bit of both. I think in years past with like heavy squat volume or like weight or a combination of both in workouts I haven't really done as well. And like doing a lot of heavy like lactic acid like workouts this year, I feel like that's kind of like helped me with that stimulus in competition. And then also like going over to like the clean and jerk, like seeing how I can handle like for me my pull is great in my clean, but like it's like getting the bar up from the bottom in the squat that's like harder for me. So seeing how I will be able to handle that relative to like what I've done in the past and compared to the field.
How do you feel about the parallel hold?
I actually really like it, and I think it's very interesting that they did a one max attempt. Like that's all you get. So it's like it's really kind of fun to like see for the kick up. Like I feel like that's gonna be a huge part of it, because if you like kick up slightly too short and you fall, like that's, you know, like your time's 1 second. So I think it's really like interesting to see how people are going to handle that. And for me myself, like I know I've been practicing it like quite a bit since it's been released, and just seeing how I'm going to be able to handle it out on the competition floor, I'm excited to like put myself in that situation. Kind of high stress, high pressure. I like it.
Yeah, and you know, there were a lot of events or parts of events that had that element of high stress or pressure of execution at the games, so you got a good chance to practice that there. There's not a ton of games athletes in this field, so maybe a little bit of an advantage for those of you that are competing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you're gonna do great. I can't believe you're so likable too. You're
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're an amazing kid. Your parents must be so proud of you.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so cool. And the way you've assimilated to that team speaks volumes. Also, I'm you know, as much as it looks fun in games from the outside, I know that those are a lot of intense competitors that you're with, and you seem like you've assimilated great. And the fact that Rich would, it screams volumes that he would invite you to Italy. He sure as hell doesn't want anyone around him. He's too old of a dog to let anyone around him who's going to bug him, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just so excited to meet you. I hope throughout the weekend, I want you to know that we'll probably try to bug you and get you on. We never take advantage to athletes ghosting us during the week. We know you guys are super busy, so don't ever feel like you have to respond. But it'd be
we
cool
might have an advantage this time, because for people like Paige that are doing the individual, they'll be done by Friday. They'll still be there Saturday, Sunday. We can call her up. We can say,
For sure.
hey, Rich is getting his ass kicked out there. What's going on?
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing details of your life. I really appreciate it. Thanks for it was really cool to hear, you know, the upbringing, and thanks for sharing us the story about Nassar. I know that's not a fun conversation, but it is definitely interesting to people to hear about what it takes to be an elite athlete and kind of the trials you guys go through.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys having me on. So.
Yeah, anytime. You're always welcome. You're a gem, man. All right. Thanks, Paige. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You
See you
guys
next
as
week.
well.
And we'll be watching you.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You think that was too abrupt of an ending?
No.
Okay.
So when there's like 45-minute guest and then another 45-minute guest, you're twice as abrupt as that.
Okay, good. I thought it was going to rain and I wasn't going to have to take the kids to tennis, but I have to. What's this?
That's all right. I think 90 minutes is good.
It will be interesting to see your improvements this year. Hey, man, I think we're looking at in the next few years if she stays healthy, which I think she will. I think. Oh, I know. I should have told her to stop by for a shirt. Darn it! Keep screwing that up. Paige, stop by for a shirt at the Paper Street Coffee Gate. Hey, I think she might be a top 10 athlete in the next couple of years, a regular top 10 athlete at the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to think about what's in the way of that, right? And so if you just look at last
Emma
year's
Lawson,
if you look at just last year's top 10 to 15 athletes. Mal O'Brien's going to be there. Laura Horvath's going to be there. Danielle Brannon's going to be there. Brooke Wells will still be there for at least 3 more years, I think. Emma Lawson will be there. Gabby will be there. Haley will be there. Alexis Raptis will be there. Then there's a bunch of athletes that she can probably pass by. Ariel Lowen's a little unknown. But
I think
McQuaid,
also half those athletes have a 3-year life expectancy that you just said, by the way.
maybe. But then you also look at athletes like Lucy Campbell, Ellie Turner, Karen Freyova. They were also ahead of her, and Alex Gazan. So those are just from the games last year, assuming that no one new enters the fray, like Olivia Kerstetter or something like that. So she certainly has the potential, but it's difficult. There's
It's difficult.
There's a big group of athletes in that 17 to 25 age range that are already towards the top of the sport.
Pedro from Coffee Pods and Wads. I'm so fickle. I hear Paige immediately and just say, hey, dude, I already think she's going to win the games next year. I'm totally on board. Like I have proximity bias so bad.
Sevan's, you're in. We'll see if you have any say in the matter. But the roster of athletes you end up drafting is just going to be whoever you interviewed.
Right. I'm not going to say shit. I'm going to let JR do it all. I'm just going to be like, good job, JR. Can I get you a cigarette? You need me to light that? Want a glass of whiskey? Like I'm not saying nothing. Screw it up. All right, guys. I don't think we have any more shows today. I do think that Matt Souza is okay. Here I come. I do think that Matt Souza is going to come today, and we're going to start looking at some of the we're going to try some new fancy equipment at Wadapalooza this year for the live feed. So I think he's on his way to the house. I am going to schedule a live call-in show this evening. There will be some sort of live show this evening. So much to talk about.
Well, the first week of Supercross is going on?
Yeah. Is it really?
Yeah.
God, you're such a sports enthusiast. Sorry, we will be competing with
minor sports.
We will be competing with Supercross this evening. All right, guys. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mr. Beaver. Paige Powers, you're amazing. All right.
Sevan, stay for 1 second after.
Okay.